Today is the day I get to introduce a patient that went from looking tired and run down to lighting up a room with just her eyes. Welcome to Follow Your Beauty, the video podcast where every segment is a journey for a younger looking you. I'm Dr. Jon Mendelsohn, Medical Director of the Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, and today we're going to talk about one of the fastest and easiest ways to go from looking tired and run down to bright-eyed and full of life. Stay tuned in a little bit for what's in and what's out in the world of plastic surgery. Also, stay tuned for Studio A's very own Karen Whitney, who will talk about some of the Studio A rewards. To start this segment here, I want to introduce our next guest by just looking at this brief video clip.
Before I came to him, my eyelids were droopy and I looked tired. I did, and that's what drew me here. As after having kids, my eyelids went from being hooded, which was okay. I never really liked it.
So that's our next guest. Crystal, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Follow Your Beauty. I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
And certainly our relationship over the years now. So when you look back on that, tell me a little bit about your eyelids looking heavy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the video says it. I just looked heavy and tired. I never liked my hooded eyes. And they just got worse as I aged. As I got, 35 or so, they looked even more tired. That's what they do, right? Gravity just takes them down and they just kind of start drooping. And these sides here just really hung down, and I hated it. I just didn't like it.
So how long would you say that that had bothered you?
The noticeable changes in the drooping, I would say it was a good 2 to 3 years that I just started going, this is just getting worse. This can't be it.
So what did you do when it started bothering you?
So when it started bothering me, first I tried all of the easy routes. I went to the makeup counter and was like, what can we do to create an illusion here? Can we give myself a crease here? How do you do this? YouTubed how to change my makeup, and then, none of that works. It just doesn't work. It's not going to be the same. So then I just kind of started looking around at plastic surgeons and, what does this cost? And what am I going to look like after? How do they do it? Is it painful? All those common questions I'm sure everyone has and worries, and to start exploring kind of those fears of, oh gosh, what if they mess my face up? So that's really the thought in it, right? Is my face? I don't love it now, but it could be worse. Did
you talk to anybody about it? Anybody in your family, or was it something that you were just reviewing on your own?
Really the only person I talked to was my husband, and I would kind of do the pull my eye up. What if it looked like this? What if we took the, and did all this, and he just thought I was crazy because he's like, what are you doing? Why are you pulling on your eyelids?
So back in your high school years,
Mm-hmm.
what did your eyes look like then?
I still had the hooded eye, but they weren't droopy. It didn't look, it didn't look as tired as it did when I got older. I noticed them, and I noticed that, other girls that didn't have hooded eyes, their makeup looked what I thought was better. They had the creases and, all that kind of good stuff. And I was like, but I think I, as a younger person, didn't put together what was different about my eyes versus theirs. I didn't know hooded versus not. I was just like,
Did they bother you at the time, or you just noticed that they were different?
I think more noticed they were different. I would have, every 17-year-old girl wants something different, wants some kind of change.
Well, because what we find is there are two different conditions, and we'll talk about this, but one is called, and these are medical language here, but dermatochalasis and blepharoplasty are the common terms that we use. Okay. And one is related to probably what started to happen even though you're young, and that is some of the changes that we see with aging. We lose a little bit of volume, we lose elasticity, and then you reach this point where there's this trigger where, you really want to do something about it. But we see many adolescent women who have more either swelling, edema, there are some changes, they're more full. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure how much we spent during our initial consultation talking about that, but But later we'll talk about other types of anatomy with relatives of yours, and there's a difference between aging and just full eyelids. So I was just curious if it was something that you always wanted to change, or if you just got to a point. Are you okay? I know we performed surgery on you. Are you okay watching surgery or not? Because in this next segment, what I'm going to do, this is a little bit graphic, and I want to walk through for our listeners and viewers just a little bit about what upper blepharoplasty is, and then we'll sort of come back to what's going on.
Yeah.
It's up to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and start it. If that's okay.
That's fine.
And for anyone else who doesn't want to watch, maybe just listen and turn around. We've done some other segments on eyelids, and we've reviewed this before, but this is just a couple of minutes if we can go ahead and go through this here. So I'm going to turn the volume down here. But what you're seeing, and so far, Crystal, I know you're looking away here, is you're really just seeing a patient who's preparing. We've localized the tissue. That means we've numbed it up. And you can see the markings on the eyelid. The markings typically are about 8 to 10 millimeters from the eyelash margin. And we localize it. You can see the way the tissues are sort of blanched, and that's because we use lidocaine with epinephrine, and the epinephrine basically just constricts the blood supply. And so the reason why we do that is we want very minimal blood loss. Okay, so here we are. Obviously, you don't want to take a look at this. We're basically going to make an incision. We're just following the previously marked areas, okay? Just like if you had a little mole or a little skin cancer, we would just sort of work around it, and then we would just excise that. So it's really pretty straightforward. The important part is marking it properly and making sure that our measurements are in the right place. So once we do that, for anybody who may be watching this, you can see that there's virtually no bleeding. And again, that's because of the epinephrine. Once we've made our incision, we're simply going to excise the skin. And it takes just a couple of minutes. Just beneath the skin is a layer, and we've talked about this at least, is a muscle called the orbicularis muscle. And that muscle typically might have a little bit of bleeding, but in deep to the orbicularis muscle is what we call the orbital septum. And the orbital septum is a partition that holds some of the fat back. And in your case, and in many patients' situations, there's fat in our eyelid, and there's also fat in the medial aspect of our eyelid. And so we're going to tease that fat out, and we simply, you'll see it on the video as a yellowish blob. We'll cauterize it very meticulously. We'll just remove it. And then all we do after that is we just close the skin with that running suture, that we removed 6 days later. So it's a little bit about the procedure. While you were having this performed, did you have any problems during the surgery?
No.
Okay. Are you okay right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I know some people don't like the idea of even talking through it. But,
no, I'm
okay.
good.
Okay. Obviously, I didn't review this with you before, but we do find that a lot of patients the night before surgery, they'll say to us, they've waited all this time. What do they say while they're lying there? I YouTubed this. I watched this last night. So we figured that we might as well walk patients through it with our technique and how we do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is almost through, but for anybody watching, so you can see this little yellowish fatty blob here. And anybody else here in the studio, I hope everybody's okay and nobody hits the floor here. But so anyway, so we'll do this on one side and then we'll do this on the other, okay? And that's a little bit about that, the surgery there. What have people said to you following the blepharoplasty, the eyelid procedure?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think it's such a subtle change that people are confused as to what happened. They're just, you look great. And it's more people who, obviously don't see me all the time. They're like, you look great. I just turned 40. Or no, wait, I have 2 more days. I'm turning 40 in 2 days.
Happy
That's
birthday.
a big distinction. Right. But I just took a birthday trip and they're like, there's no way you're 40. There's no way. You just look too young. And I think it's largely because my eyes look more vibrant than they did. I think they would have totally believed it before.
So did they make comments about your hair or makeup, or they just thought you looked refreshed?
Refreshed. Yeah, they're just, you look so great. I'm like, thanks.
You mentioned your husband before in terms of, he was one of the first people that you talked to about this years before. What are his views now?
He thinks I look great, of course. I don't think he can
Good
have
answer.
another answer.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he has any choice there.
Well, good. And what about your kids?
I'm just mom. I don't think that they notice. Right at first when I came home, they were like, "Oh, what's going on?" But then they're, my son especially says, I'm beautiful. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but
Oh, I think he's probably right. I think you mentioned your father throughout this
Yes.
process, and I know that you've got a very supportive family. But what are his thoughts?
So it's funny you mentioned YouTubing because that's my dad. So he YouTubed the procedure before, and he was very nervous for us. He's very protective of me, of course. I'm an only child. So very protective, but I think, now he thinks I look great and he's completely supportive. And, I've come back for a couple other little touch-ups and he doesn't question it now.
So when he YouTubed it, was he fearful?
I think he was nervous. I think he's always nervous for me, but he knew I wanted it so much that he wouldn't express it to me. I think he might have told my mom. But me, he knew how excited I was. And, I did have some fear, of course, but the excitement really just overrode. I just kind of told myself, you want this. You waited years for this. This is what you want to do. So how are you going to be so scared? You're signing up for this. It's a choice.
Right. So he was supportive. Well, that's good. Well, thank you. I think you look great. You look great before, but you look happy and refreshed. If you would stand by with us, and we're going to check out what Julie's saying in her segment of what's in and what's out in the world of plastic surgery.
We're hitting the wedding aisles and the Jersey Shore in our first edition of What's In and What's Out and What's Hot and What's Definitely Not in the world of plastic surgery. I'm your guide, Julie Whitney. Get ready as we tour the world and scour the headlines to help you become a younger you. Well, it's that time of year again. The peak wedding season and plastic surgery season are upon us. While flowers, cake, photographer may be on the long list of to-dos before the big I do, you might want to add rhinoplasty, breast augmentation, and Botox to your list. According to RealSelf.com, more people are getting cosmetic procedures as part of their wedding preparation in 2019, and these three are all in the top 5. Also high on the list are non-surgical fat reduction procedures such as Kybella, which gets rid of unwanted neck fat, and new M-Sculpt, a non-invasive procedure which creates sculpted abs, butts, and arms. According to Real Self, M-Sculpt actually accounted for 23% of all non-surgical pre-wedding treatments the last 12 months. And we'll talk more about this a bit later. And speaking of sculpted abs, my man Drake is once again in the headlines. According to People magazine, the 32-year-old rapper recently posted a shirtless photo on Instagram showing off his extensive tattoos and ripped torso. Check it out. The photo prompted Drake's friend and fellow musician Carnage to hop into Drake's feed, teasing him about his fake abs and asking about his plastic surgery down in Colombia. After some friendly bantering back and forth, Drake quickly shot down the rumors. Now about those tats, I'm not personally a fan of them. But if he does decide to eliminate a few, he should definitely try the new PicoSure laser, the fastest, most effective, and painless way to eliminate tattoos once and for all. But another star actually did go under the knife, admitting on the Doctor's TV show that he recently underwent surgery to produce six-pack abs. The days of GTL, Gym Tan Laundry, are long gone for the Jersey Shore's Ronnie Ortiz Magro, whose days as a new dad are now filled with gym, tan, and diapers. According to Ronnie, I can't spend 2 to 3 hours every day in the gym like I used to. So he took extreme measures to make sure he got washboard abs in time for season 3 of MTV's reboot, Jersey Shore Family Vacation. So set those DVRs now. Here's the before and after taken moments following Ronnie's procedure. Ugh. Poor Ronnie. He's in for what looks to be like a very long and painful recovery. If only he'd known about new M-Sculpt, a new technology which was approved last fall by the FDA that simultaneously builds muscle and burns fat in just 4 30-minute treatments. When used on the abs, each treatment is the equivalent of doing 20,000 sit-ups, something that Ronnie could never do in a single trip to the gym. And besides, this procedure is a lot less painful. Look at the before and after photos of a male patient who was treated with M-Sculpt. M-Sculpt has also been approved for use on the butt and most recently on the arms, including the triceps and biceps. I'm ready to try it. Our own Dr. Jon Mendelsohn was the first provider in Cincinnati to offer M-Sculpt, and as expected, the demand has been overwhelming. That's it for today's news in plastic surgery. You can see more of my plastic surgery journey and also follow your beauty by going to 351face.com. Why not sign up for a younger you today?
That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to Follow Your Beauty. For this and other episodes, please log in or go to 351face.com/Follow Your Beauty. You can get some more information about Studio A. You can sign up and log in and schedule a complimentary consultation where our team is happy to assist you. Thank you very much, Crystal. We look forward to having you back. Thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of Follow Your Beauty, live from Studio A at Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center.